FLUX is an operating system that lets developers interact with the FLUX distributed computer network, FLUX nodes. FLUX nodes provide useful resources for developers to launch decentralized applications. There are 3 tiers of FLUX nodes, which are laddered based on system requirements and collateral of FLUX. In return for providing computational power, FLUX node operators are rewarded a portion of the FLUX network block reward. FLUX acts as the master coordinator for launching applications and managing the resources of each FLUX node to balance usage. Due to FLUX's decentralized nature, applications are accessible at all times and at all locations with no single point of failure. FLUX is used as the payment model for developers and users to buy computational resources on the FLUX network. Want to run your application on FLUX? If you can Dockerize it, you can put it on FLUX. Simple, scalable, and affordable. FLUX, the gateway to a decentralized world. Visit runonflux.io for more information.
We are live. Good morning, everyone. So we have a great group today. So let's just kind of go round robin, then we'll do some housekeeping items, and we'll come back to it. So anyone that's watching that doesn't know, I'm Dan Keller. I'm the co-founder and the CSO of FLUX and Zelcore. I've been with the project since its conception. So I kind of do a little bit of everything, but I'm super excited to be here today. Davey, how about you, bud?
Good morning. Good. I'm quite excited to be here. Second week now, third week in the row that we're doing this. But this is close to the heart. This one is really nice. So for those who don't know who I am, I'm Dave Wittock. I'm part of the business development team. So I'm helping out the FLUX team by getting new customers on board, but also helping with the new projects. And over to you, Alex. This is your first one.
Yep, exactly. So nice to meet you all. I'm Alex, and I'm actually just recently joined the business development team with Dan and Davey, basically, and working principally on proof of useful work, which we'll be talking about today.
Alex and then we of course Ali is hanging out in the background with no picture because he says he doesn't look good in the morning. Ali, I disagree with you. I think you'd be just fine.
Hey guys, hey, thanks, Dan. No, really, I do look terrible in the morning. But hey, guys, Ali Malik here. So I'm part of the business development team as well. Most of you guys know me already, so I'm just hanging in the background. So I'm promising you next time when I come back, I'm gonna put a video on. I'm gonna turn my cam on for sure.
Okay, all right.
Good.
Well, if you guys notice, we kind of got a common theme. We all got our little trees. If you're interested, basically we're gonna fund proof of work to buy Alex a new tree. Because for only $1 a day, you can give this poor young dev a bigger tree. So, and insert the sad music playing in the background. This is mine anyway. It's not even real. So, anyway, so just a little bit of housekeeping items. If you haven't had a chance today to check out Mazer Gaming, they're running a Pokemon Go tournament today, sponsored by FLUX. So they got a bunch of people over there. I know enough about Pokemon Go to be dangerous. I might have caught a few on vacation one time. They're just chilling in there. They probably, if they were real creatures, they'd be dead by now. But oh well. So check out Mazer Gaming, and that is going to go to sponsor Cyber Smile, which essentially it helps to people that are bullied online to be able to get help and things like that when they need it. So, and if you've ever played any of some of these online games like Call of Duty, when my kids play it, I think I would need Cyber Smile after that because they're brutal, man. Like to hear them talk, they are brutal. So anyway, check them out. And then, so today what we're going to talk about is proof of useful work. So this is the very first public display of any brain dumps that we're doing as a team. And so let me start out by explaining exactly what proof of useful work is as a concept. And then what we'll do is we'll start walking through the rest of the pieces as well. So, so basically, proof of useful work is running today, and it runs on our node side of the house. Our idea a long time ago was how do we put technologies to use that in the past had just been, like transactional validators or consensus mechanism, and of course we had the whole master node craze, 5 or 6 years ago, and everybody was over themselves with master nodes, which ended up being a abysmal failure. But out of that was born the fact that deterministic nodes could do something greater. And we adopted that technology. We rolled it into our chain and we deployed our node structure, which today runs, thousands and thousands and thousands of apps. It's built to scale out to about 1.2, 1.4 million instances. We can run oracles, databases, you name it. So really what we're looking at now is how do we bring the other side of the house in? So our nodes are already doing useful work. They have this running over here. We're building on that every day. But we have a lot of these GPU resources that essentially are just kind of chilling and doing transactional validation and just doing normal mining things. So I came to the team about 1.5 years ago and I said, look, I found a paper. It was written by a couple MIT students about useful proof of work. And conceptually, they had a really good idea. And I reached out to them. I got some information about what they were working on. And we started to talk about it internally as a team of how we could do our iteration and use proof of work as the proof of work mechanism we have today. So that's what gave birth to proof of useful work. So you can see them in different flavors. There's other people that are working on it as well, but I don't think there's any one particular person working on it like we are, in the sense that we are already taking existing technology that's been implemented into the space and we're trying to use it for the betterment of all mankind. So that's a little bit what proof of useful work is, and a little history on the team. So the team, we have about 7 people on the team right now, and I had a chance to meet with Alex for the very first time, and he had put together a presentation that absolutely knocked my socks off. So his and Davey's thinking about proof of useful work really challenged my thinking about proof of useful work. And as a matter of fact, the way that I envisioned it changed over a period of time, thanks to these guys getting together and putting some stuff together. So I want part of the reason why we're here today is you're not going to hear requirements. You're not going to hear this is how we're going to do it. What you're going to hear is conceptually the way that we're looking at it. You're going to hear our mission statement. You're going to hear how the processes that we think can proof of use work and benefit. So today is about everybody sitting back and putting on their thinking cap, and they're going to brainstorm together. Because one of the things that's really great about the Flux community, really the crypto community overall, is they like to give input, constructive input, right? Is always helpful.
It's only constructive. It's only constructive.
Yeah, destructive input, we just give you the old band hammer and off you go. But no, we want people to actually challenge us on our thought process, and we have a group in the Discord that talks specifically about proof of use of work pretty much all the time. They're always hitting me up, showing me different things. So today, what you're going to hear is you're going to hear a top level from Alex and from Davey about how we envision proof of use for work going. And I'm going to shut up for a while, and I'll come in for clarifying points if they decide that they need me. But today's all about these guys. These guys have put together a great presentation for you, a great top level presentation. I think you guys are going to seriously enjoy it. I know I did. And then when they're done, we'll take some AMA questions as well. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Alex and Davey. You guys have at it.
Sure. All right. Ali, can you bring up our slides straight away? There you go. There you go. So the way Dan already talked about it briefly, right? So the way we approached proof of use for work with what we're doing already with the nodes, I got to thinking, how can we use all our miners, right? So the miners are the heart of our community. They're the guys who are bringing in our chain. They're making sure the chain is moving. They're basically finding the next block that even pays the master nodes. And so I got thinking, how can we give those guys more purpose, right? Because Flux might not be the most shiny coin out there, but we're the coin that's useful. And so we want to make sure that our mining is also useful. We want to give those cards a useful purpose. And the way we're doing that is going to be a little different than what many might think. Although we had a channel in the Discord for a while now, and we are in there too. We're looking as well. We are looking at the ideas that people are bringing forward. Some line up with what we're doing. Some are maybe not always lining up with what we're doing. But let's dive straight into it. It'll be clear the moment we start talking about all these things. So let me get you. So nice slide. Made by the marketing team. So thank you guys for providing that to us, because otherwise it would be a nice, wide, boring slide deck here. So again, shout out to the marketing team. You guys are doing awesome things with what you guys are making here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about a couple things here. And we're going to define proof of use for work. We're going to talk about the use cases, who we're targeting, what's the goal here. And then also actors and contributors. Well, we have already some people we're working with to build this. Quick shout out to the University of Geneva for Applied Sciences, because these guys are helping us out already. We're going to talk a little bit of configurations, how we are seeing that for your casual user, for your miners, how FluxOS works in all of this. How are we doing it? So the operating model, and we'll talk a little bit of economics. We're going to touch on how we're managing it all. And then, of course, how do we want to bring this forward to everybody? That's the important piece, right? So bringing it all together, that's where we're talking for in bullet point number 3. And then last but not least, who's working on it. So you get a bit of a face to the team who's building this out for you guys. So far, it's mostly the thinking team. The actual brains and the guys who are building it, they're coming on board already, and we'll be starting that off soon. So let's get to our mission statement. Alex, do you want to take it over?
Yeah, sure. So for our mission statement, what we actually want to bring to is more than just an alternative to crypto mining. It's more of transforming the way we currently use resources. We're trying to make use of actual resources and make it useful. Not, for example, a good example would be you have a car, you buy a car because you need it. then this car just stays on your parking lot for 90% of the time, and it's not doing anything and just losing value over time. So basically, what we're trying to incentivize is basically to have existing hardware and make it use it actually to bring more value to these resources and to the network and contribute to the people, by basically going through machine learning and solving real world problems.
Okay, next slide. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. Thank you. So as for the use case, we basically have the main one we'll be focusing on are machine learning, AI, rendering, and cloud gaming. These can branch out into many target sectors, such as medical field research and so on. Quite a lot of people are actually looking towards this. I, for myself, work for the University of Applied Science in Geneva, and we actually came up with a use case for machine learning and tried to decentralize what we have in research labs in order to bring more value to these GPUs we invest in that only does some work like only at punctual times. As for the actors and contributors, we also have Lumen and NVIDIA, such as myself at the university and other institutional establishments as well.
If you guys don't mind, I'd like to pop in for 2 seconds. Yeah. I know I said it shut up, but I think it needs to I think it needs to be said, especially around that target sectors. So people ask a lot about proof of use work. So crypto overall, blockchain overall has really been focused on fintech. So basically decentralized finance, DeFi, looking at how they take finance and do it. Finance itself wasn't wild about the idea of us taking over and starting to build platforms that are outside the central, grasp of control. That's the whole reason why FLUX is great. The target sectors that we're going to be working on for proof of use work are exactly the opposite. So in the financial world, they were a business model that wasn't looking for a solution. They didn't feel they had a problem. We knew they had a problem, and that's why we started to build this. But as you move with proof of use of work, you're actually going to people that are looking for a solution. So one of these, you can be, you almost have to be aggressive and push it forward. The other one, you have to be passive and build the model, and they come to you. So for instance, with, medical field, electronic medical records, x-rays, anything that you have, that you would need to process on the blockchain, absolutely could you utilize this. Research, federated learning. So having the ability for this to be reached by multiple educational institutions so that they can deploy the infrastructure. I don't know if you guys know it now, and Alex, you can probably attest to this, but if a school wants to do, like, let's say a high-end graphics class, they actually build a small server room or, compute, and not necessarily small, depending on the size of the organization, that they use for their students, so that, because they need to be able to render and they need to be able to do, that kind of stuff. Well, that proof of use work kind of takes that out of having to have that physical location and puts it back into the hands of the miners and so on and so forth. So I think it's understated that that these sectors, media and entertainment, we talked to a project the other day that was doing basically kind of like they took someone's body, let's say Carly B's body, and they put somebody else's face on, and they did it in real time, and that was all happening behind the scenes. So it's not like a deep fake necessarily, more like a filter. You would say, like, now you look like Carly B. Okay, cool. I don't think I want that. So, but somebody out there wants it. Maybe
I don't think Carly wants it either.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that these are the things that, building a deep fake, for instance, takes a massive amount of compute resources. But do you know what takes more compute resources than that? Proving that it's a deep fake. So this becomes a tool for people to use to address these kind of issues. So Alex, I'll hand it back over to you, but I just wanted to delve into that.
I'll actually go further on that, Dan. I actually been in talks with some other universities as well. And one of the universities that I was talking to, their biggest issue at this point is organizing everybody to help them with a model. We were looking at, because I'm in the medical field myself, we were looking at detecting lesions within and cancers within lungs and kidneys and doing all those models, it took up so much time of their time and resources that they don't always have. The university I was talking to had access to 64 graphic cards.
That was just chilling, basically, most
Yeah,
of the
they were
time.
just
Yeah.
sitting there.
Yeah.
If they're not working on the model, they're just sitting there. So that's part of the issue. Is it's wasted resources that way. And if they're running into a constraint. They only had 64, so they were limited in time. And so they were reaching out to other hospitals and clinics. Hey, can you help us? And then people had a hard time getting those on board because they didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the know-how. And so basically the thing fell apart, which is sad
Yeah.
because that's medical. That helps everybody here. Everybody on the stream, everybody, their family, that would have helped them all. And it fell a little bit apart. So
Yeah.
the team there did their best and they got it going with the limited resources they had, but it took a long time.
Yeah.
So they were like, Davey, can you help us? And we talked for hours upon hours about this. And I brought it in here as well as a target. The medical field is asking, begging almost to have people like us help them.
Well, I think what you're seeing, especially in the medical field, especially with Oracle purchasing Cerner and basically wanting to build the world's largest database of health records, is if you're not fucking terrified, you should be, because I worked for one of the largest healthcare organizations out there, and the relationship they had with Google it's not good. Like, they're getting all of our information, all of our data. So anything we can do to kind of get it back out of the hands of these central entities and into the hands of the people with, proof of use work, it's great. Alex, I want to point out a couple things that people were saying in chat. They said specifically around, I would also add scientific computation, not necessarily just AI, and that's true. So, we've tested some things with, Monaco. What do they call Monaco statements? I don't know, whatever it is. But on our node structure. But yeah, I could see some kind of pieces like that. So all right, and you guys keep going, and then we'll take AMA at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Alex.
The next slide. Do you have the control, Davey?
I do. You want me to go to the next slide?
Yeah.
I don't think Alex can do it.
Sure.
So as for the way we're gonna make this work in very high level, it's basically we're just gonna benchmark the whole rig's machines. So this is where we're gonna really value quality of service, just as for our nodes. We don't want people to go and have it to do proof of use work without being really useful and efficient. So we really are going to benchmark those machines. We're going to tag those machines for their appropriate task and use case. Then we're going to assign automatically and tweak on our end how these configurations will work and which one will be assigned to what job, basically.
Yeah, I would just bring out one thing here as well is from a concept standpoint, we're looking at, okay, so let's say you naturally go through the technology iteration. If you're a miner, this sounds familiar to you. You got into mining, you were using a 1050, and then you had a 1050 Ti, and then the 1060s came out, and now you had to move to a 1060. And then the 1070s came out, workhorse, by the way, number one card for me, the TIs or the 1070s, workhorse card. Right. So you've continued to iterate this technology. And what happens with those cards? Well, you either throw them under the desk or you sell them on eBay and try to, get a couple bucks for them. But if you could have all of those cards as useful work, because every one of them is still valuable in the sense that it's, it's a GPU, it can process data. Proof of use work focuses on quantity rather than quality. So somebody that's running one or two high-end cards, the new cards, versus somebody that now all of a sudden has access to 15 or 20 or even 100 1070 Ti's. Now you have a much wider swath. So it gives the ability for all people to really participate in it. So, but you can't run a TSR-80 or a Commodore 64 in proof of use work. It just doesn't make sense. So much like we do with our node structure, we're going to have a benchmark assigned to that. As Alex was alluding to, we want to make sure that technology is it can support the network and do what it's set out to do. So you'll get a tag, you'll know that you can participate in proof of use work, And you'll be, because the next question everybody's going to ask is they're saying, okay, well, what if I have a new graphics card versus an old graphics card? How does that work? It
Bring
will
them both
be
in.
tiered for total usage. So think of it like mining. This is a perfect analogy. I had one rig going to one wallet, right? So I was making my block rewards on my one rig, but now I have 3 rigs all going to one wallet. Am I going to make the same amount of money that I had when I had one rig? Now I have 3 rigs? Absolutely not. And it's going to be weighted the same way for proof of use of work. If you're providing 50 graphics cards, you're going to be incentivized at a different level, and as a different tier, because of the benchmark, we'll know exactly how this is all playing out. So this is just the beginning of it, but essentially, technology, our ultimate goal is to run till death. We want these, whether you're using a Raspberry Pi or a Jetson or a 1070 Ti or an AMD card or whatever it is, we want it to be able to be used for useful work and keep it in the cycle as long as humanly possible. Sorry, I just want to jump in on that.
Yeah.
I want to say Commodore 64 still #1. Just saying.
I have one of those somewhere if I can find it.
I'll take it over.
We'll dig it out. We'll give it away as like a giveaway. Here, there you go. All right.
So yeah, it's really about make use of these unused resources, get rewarded, and basically use what the whole infrastructure we already have in a decentralized manner, basically, with the current nodes and everything, and make everything work together with the GPUs. This could not be decentralized without having these nodes set up, these storage nodes set up, and everything that works all together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat had brought up a real good one around medical and data.
I'll answer that later.
No, wait. Let's just put it on the side, and we'll get it when we get to the AMA.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure we address that.
Yep,
absolutely. That's a persistent storage thing. That's not necessarily a proof of useful work thing. So we'll chat about that. Next slide.
Next slide.
Yep.
All right.
So as for the configurations, who are we targeting? It's basically for everyone. You could be doing proof of useful work on a casual occasion. For example, you have your gaming rig, and you're not gaming, but you don't want to do mining. And at night, instead of turning off your computer, which is actually consuming some power for just being idle, well, you actually put it on the service, and we actually provide these GPUs to someone else, and you make money while you're sleeping out of these cards, basically. We also have the miners side of things, where you're actually mining, and then when we have a task assigned to you, basically that switches automatically to the proof of useful work part. And as for we can also figure a use case where we could have a node configuration that is able also to run GPUs, and so that's a better rig, I'd say, for more labor-intensive tasks, or that would require more hardware to support it. And
I do want to step in here as well. Like, why did we put casual there as well, right? So,
yeah.
I know. I said earlier, the miners are the heart of Flux. They're the guys who make the chain move. They still are, but we also want to reach out to folks who do not mine, right? I know a family of mine who said, I don't want to mine. I don't want to download that software. My antivirus picks it up and says there's something wrong with it. We all know that's not always the case. There have been times where that was the case. But we also want to make sure that we reach out to folks who are not mining. And then that includes entities like universities, that includes big businesses that have GPUs in their computers at work, but they're not used. It's 4 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock, people control, delete, and they walk out. Done. So we want to make sure that they also have a way of using those machines. At night, electricity is cheaper. So why not use that when the electricity is cheaper, when there's the abundance of electricity from the entire day of solar power generating power? Let's use that power during the night as well and make it useful for something. Have it render something. Have it find AI problems that we need to solve. Use that. And that's the casual miner. Casual might seem like a small niche, but it's actually a lot bigger than that we might actually display it here.
Yeah, we would target, and a good example of that, Davey, is gamers.
Yep.
So gamers historically have pretty badass graphics cards, right? So I mean, the idea or the concept behind like a group pool, we're all very familiar with this because we run mining pools essentially, which are kind of your central piece that everybody contribute to. Uh, One of the very first things that really brought a lot of folks into crypto was an application like MinerGate, which allowed you to basically on any regular computer open it up. It picks your graphics card, it tells you what's profitable to mine, and you go ahead and mine that. So you take that concept and you roll it out and say, now we want to get it back on chain. We want to get it in the hands of as many people as possible. We want to make it as usable and scalable as possible as well, and easy to participate. So I think that casual is definitely understated, and those are good points, Davey. I think the other place that's really understated is the fact that we have institutions that have large data centers that, for all intents and purposes, are just chilling and being idle most of the time. And as a matter of fact, we talked to a Fortune 200 company who basically said, "Hey, how do we put our data centers to work while we're not using it? Because that's a big problem for them." Well, flux it, let's do it. So I think that you could have a large number of casual users, a demographic that spreads out to maybe the current miners, gamers, people that want to make a little bit of passive income, and that's going to be huge. And then that also opens up the way for institutional facilities that have large data centers to be able to participate as well. All right, sorry about that, Alex.
I'm seeing a lot of questions about these, about configuration. So about the PCIe buses, basically.
Sure.
So we're going to value a lot the quality of service and the quality of service of these useful work, for example, AI or any of these use case. Well, they'll depend on what you provide as equipment and hardware. So X1 PCIe bus will be useful, but for the mining part mostly.
Yeah, we'll dive deeper into the AMA and into the questions.
Yeah, we're not going to, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. These guys are as leaky as I am sometimes. At the beginning of no, that's okay, buddy. At the beginning, we're not going to, because these things are going to iterate and change. Like as we are forming this team and this task force to start looking at this, and we start actually coding it out. It could change. The variables could change. If you're running a Flux node, the requirements when you started your Flux node back when it was Zell isn't the same as it is today. We know that the specs went up. We had to ratchet up a few times, bandwidth testing, all that kind of good stuff. So there's a lot of key research points that go into this as well. So what we're saying here, remember, it's top level. You guys are getting a snapshot behind the scenes before it ever happens, before we're ever planning it out, and we're going to ask for plenty of input from the community. So,
all right, let's go to the next slide.
Want to take over this one, David?
Sure. So the way we're envisioning this, and this might sound leaky, but it's basically just our train of thought that we're putting on paper here. So what we're thinking of is a scheduler or a distributing model, where you have your servers that can be the Flux servers that we have in place, so the master nodes that are in place, and all the different tiers that they can be running things, and they're going to be providing the work to our to the miners, to the client side of the proof of use work side. And the way we're doing that is in a secure delivery. So I know that was already a question I saw passing by a few times. Can we do it secure? How is it secure? We're going to make sure it is secure, because we want to make sure that the data doesn't get compromised. It'll be auto-assigning the tasks based on your configuration. So any benchmarking that was done before, it'll have given you a type of a score. We will know which ones are the cards that are better for the rendering piece, who is good for the AI piece, who is good for just regular mining. We'll have that all scored, and then based on that, we'll be able to assign you different tasks. And then the way that'll work, so when we distribute the work, it'll pause your mining, or if you're doing something else, it won't pause you there. You'll be able to set a schedule that says, hey, I'm available for any useful work, and it'll assign you work, and you'll start doing the work, and it'll start doing the thing.
Hey,
It'll
Davey,
yeah,
asterisk. If you don't specify any different, it's just going to mine flux.
absolutely.
But if you decide that you want to also participate in proof of use of work, and you set your scheduler up appropriately, maybe during the day you don't mine internet speeds, whatever the hell it is, and then you go to bed. You can set that auto scheduler up so that you mine flux while you're sleeping, and then if a proof of use work job comes in, it's going to jump over there and you'll make more flux on top of it. So
Yep,
I think,
absolutely.
I just want to bring that up.
And a little snippet as well. If you mine something else, by all means, go for it. We're not gonna
Yeah,
be.
I mean, we're not. Yeah, I mean, flux would be the preference. I mean,
Of
I mean,
course.
and you would be smart if you mine flux. You'd be a highly educated individual who's participating in an unbelievably well-developed platform, right? But if you don't, if you can't, then you can participate in another platform as well if you need to.
All right. And so after the work is done, we'll be validating it, and then the load balancing piece. Alex, how was that working again in this the load balancing? How was that working again?
Basically selecting the appropriate usage and check for the keep the chain going. Basically,
Yep.
that's
And then and then isolated environments. I already saw the question as well. Like, how are we protecting all of this? So we're making sure that it's an encapsulated container that is not accessible by the end user, so that we don't interrupt there. That's the idea at this point. High level, not anything in depth yet. That's coming, but we want to just give you an idea on how we're going to be doing this, right? So that's the goal of this AMA at the moment. So this is the high level, the operating model, high level. Just think about it: server client, decentralized servers, decentralized clients, all acting together, providing the work back. So the work itself is being assigned by our consumers. That can be that could be dim from the marketing team having a render pushed to our software and says, "Hey, I need this rendered ASAP because I need a new video for Dan and Davey for the AMA," and then he can do that in a matter of minutes. What takes him now hours, if not days, sometimes to render. So that's it. So next slide. So the operating
Let
model.
me hold on. Let me jump in there
Okay.
real quick because I want to bring this up. Because you talked about the ability to have a good amount of compute resources. The thing that we didn't talk about is the fact that if you wanted to do that today, you would have to go to someone like AWS who has GPUs that you can rent, and they are unbelievably expensive. Our proof of use work model will be very affordable, much like our node structure and deployment of dApps, oracles, front ends, back ends. This will be affordable, and you can do it at scale. And I think there could be you could even see it as we talked about load balancing. Peak times would be rewarded at a higher rate rather than low peak times. You know what I mean? And depending on who is sourcing the compute resources, as it continues to keep growing, it'll be a sliding scale in terms of what you're receiving, in payment. So our ultimate goal is to make sure that, much like node operators are incentivized with the block reward, but on top of that, they have a node incentivization program that incentivizes that. We want to make sure the miners have that as well. So they're going to have the ability to mine flux, do it, when they're not doing useful work. When they do useful work, they'll make additional resources. So and we can provide these services super cheap to the consumers. Why? Because we've already built the infrastructure and we've provided the services before they ever hit the buy button. We're basically it's already baked in.
we
All
can
right.
view this as some sort of computational power battery. The Flux token being a computational power battery that you store up and then you can use it in one go if you want. So that can speed up like AI processes, for example, that takes 2 to 3 weeks to learn sometimes. And basically just use it in one go and just rent out a bunch of GPUs instead of just having them sit and do it for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Just a concept. Just if you guys think about it, imagine you're a researcher at this point, right? And you have to go through the budget talks with your financials and say, "Hey, I need to buy 100 computers because I want to do a model or a rendering or whatever." The it'll be a lot easier than that. You can say, hey, I looked at the Flux side. It costs me X amount of Flux to pay for this, or dollars in that case, and he'll have a easier time to go to his budget folks or the financials and say, I just want to do this, and versus having to go through the process of buying the hardware, installing the hardware, getting the approval to buy the hardware. It's a tremendous amount of time is wasted that way too.
Pain in
If they
the
can
ass
just
is what
go,
it is. Pain in the ass, Davey. That's the
it's
better
hard.
term. Yeah.
And then coming to the Flux world and see all these miners, all their video cards readily available to you. You push it, you mine it, or you render it, or whatever, and it'll be back in no time. It's gonna change the way people work.
Yeah.
It really is. So the operating model going forward, the management system. So basically, what we're thinking is a dashboard. You select your configuration. This goes for the folks who are providing the GPUs, but also for the folks who are the consumers utilizing everything. They're going to be able to pick and choose. They're going to get an estimate with a calculator. Think about Jetpack, right? How we're doing a Jetpack now as well, where you can do a calculator first. How much is it going to cost me to do a website? Basically the same idea, right? So do a calculation that way. You can see what kind of hardware is available to you, how much is available to you. Think about the dashboard we have, for instance, in our Flux nodes. And then, of course, see the progress of all the work that's being done, see what you already did. You want to do something again, often with AI, you want to rerun things. So you have pre-configured things for you. You get the cost. So easy for folks, big entities, they can see how much they've paid, what they can see their invoices, important for their accountancy. And then, of course, like I said already, an overview of the projects that you did, how much did it cost us, how long did it take us, all of that. That's kind of basically the overview, the management of all of it. Then proof of use work storage. So you have to upload that work. You have to store it somehow. You have to present it, and eventually you have to get the results back. And those also need to be stored. We're thinking Project Thunder for that. Does that make sense? I think it does.
Mm-hmm.
And then proof of use work flux balance. So again, your current Holland, like Alex said, we're basically, by having people acting with the Flux economy, we're going to have people having to buy Flux, right? They're going to have to hold Flux. So we're going to have to show them how much Flux they have currently available, how much have they paid, and how much have they earned. So if you're a casual participant, so if you're a gamer, you're not as much into the mining piece, you still want to know how much did I actually make overnight? Did I make anything overnight? Was my rig used? What was it used for? That's all important. And then last but definitely not least, when is your rig available? And that's the scheduling piece on the user side. When do I want to make my rig available? Well, I'm gone for the weekend. I'm gonna go on a trip. Make it available for the entire weekend. Just think about it. You're a consumer. Friday evening, your boss walks in. I need this model by Monday morning. Well, these guys are gonna be able to help you out there. So that's the beauty of this. That's how
it's like having a shit ton of your buddies with a whole bunch of graphics cards, right?
Yep.
So, and then you can all help you out. So,
all right. The economy behind it. So we want to make sure that we're still attractive to the miners. We want to make sure that people are still using, doing the mining as well for Flux. So you can be mining a Flux coin, but be available to switch whenever it's available. And then mining other coins if you want to. But Flux is still more sexy. Come on, let's be honest. And then you want to
hold on, Davey, because people are going to ask this question, so I'm going to jump right in there.
Yeah.
What makes this different than something like Nice Hash or something like that? And as a matter of fact, I saw somebody post earlier that Nice Hash is going to have come out with like an operating system specifically for miners. Well, therein, you're again depending on a third party to facilitate that. So the nice thing about what proof of use work is going to be is it's agnostic to particular chains. So anyone that's mining any particular crypto can be available in proof of use for work, right? So it's not just built for the Flux community, which is the logical place where it's going to continue to live and breathe and grow, but it's also for other proof of work projects as well that you can participate in. Now, the orchestration of all of this will like Davey was alluding to, would be an application on your system that would, identify your cards and then link you back into your work. And then there would be a front end that would be the marketplace, which is for consumers to basically come in and consume those resources. The difference is this: we're not reliant on a third party in the middle that's going to be kind of the gatekeeper of the toll booth and take a percentage of the profits for, to build their business model. NiceHash's, whether you like them or you hate them or whatever the scenario is, I'm sure they'll build a pretty awesome project, but it's going to look a lot different than what proof of use work is. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And then the pricing, let's keep going here because we're already at 8:45.
Yeah, we got to hurry through the rest of this.
Pricing, so based on task and configuration, if you have good rigs, quality of service is important, just like we want to make sure we provide the right equipment at all times. And then, of course, reward on completion. These are the guys who've been thinking about it. Don't look at the guy in the middle, but the guys around that guy, pretty smart fellas. We really, I think we started roughly same time as we started Titan as well. So I have been traveling a lot, and I was in hotel rooms thinking about this. I was on the phone with Alex. Hey, Alex, I got this idea. Oh, I was talking with this person. Can we do this? Can we do that? And Alex was like, okay, I'll put it on the mind map. You should see the mind map. After all of this is done, we'll probably release the mind map. It was crazy. It's like a big spider web, like nuts. But the amount of time we spend on this already, thinking it conceptually, even a couple proof of concepts. We did a proof of concept, which was pretty cool with gaming. But amazing work so far. We're now going into development. I'm excited. I'm so excited about what we're doing here. So Dan, I don't know if you want to close off before we start going into the AMA, or Alex, if you have anything.
No, just the amount of hours is crazy, but I really love what we're doing, so looking forward to it.
And hey, what I want to say is a big shout out to both these guys, because they have really, we were in the middle of the battle of building Titan, which, by the way, has been unbelievably successful. And thank everyone in the community for that. You guys kick ass. That's it. Titan was another example where we took a failed technology and we made it great again. Shared node structure back in the master node days meant that you had to have one person that you trusted to hold your keys for you and run these nodes. And then now Titan has iterated on that, and now you're that person, right? So, and I think proof of use work is going to work somewhat similar to that. And again, big shout out to these guys, everyone on the team, because as Titan was being rolled out and built and we were strategizing, these guys were in the background taking the extra steps to make sure that we didn't miss a beat with proof of use work. So, big shout out to Alex and Davey, and really the rest of the team as well, because without you guys having the initiative and drive, it would have put us behind. So, I mean, on the roadmap in terms of where we're headed, we're still right where we want to be. So the only thing that I'd like to add before we go to AMA is because everybody's going to say, well, what's next? Okay. So we saw this top level. We saw all this. This looks cool. What's our next steps? Our next steps are going to be, as Alex pointed out on the PowerPoint presentation, we're going to engage stakeholders, NVIDIA, AMD, folks that, maybe have massive colo data centers, data farms, everything. We're going to figure out the best case. And by the way, Lumen is part of that as well. So we're going to continue to keep looking at ways to kind of join the Web 2, Web 3 world. And we're going to do it in the way that Flux always does. And that is under the push for decentralization. Do it first, do it well, make sure that, it works for all of our end users. So yeah, what I see is another one of these updates as we still keep moving forward. I want as much engagement from the community as humanly possible, because you guys are going to really help us formulate the strategy to attack this. So you're going to definitely be involved in that. More AMAs, more inquiries. There'll probably be a survey sent out at some point in time to get input and feedback as we go. So that's it. So let's do. We'll run a little over today, which is fine. But let's go ahead and do some questions. Let's try to get a bunch of them quickly done.
So there are a bunch of questions, and let me rearrange some of the questions. Let's see. I think we did answer a few of the questions before as well.
Well, we did answer a couple already, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a habit of doing that,
Let's
just grabbing
see.
some out of the chat.
So if what we can do is we can just keep it short, Dan, just quickly, and then maybe somebody may have missed the answer to that question. So
Yeah,
quickly
just start firing
do
them
it,
off.
and we can just do one by one quickly. All right. So first question is, all right. So does this mean we should have rigs with the same cost to have consistent amount of VRAM? For example, entire rig of 3070s versus a mixed rig of 3060s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
I mean, I can't speak to that yet. I think mixed rigs are going to be just fine because it's going to basically benchmark each particular graphics card that you have, much like, if you would have used MinerGate or something like that, it knew what your graphics cards were, and it basically, applied that to it. So I would say I'm a miner by heart, and I had some seriously mixed rigs in my day. So, anything that could mine, I basically was putting it in a rig. Which was fun. I even had some, AMD NVIDIA splits, which was a real serious pain in the ass a few years ago, but I was able to get them to run. So yeah, I don't think mixed rigs will be a problem. I think if you're looking to plan on what you're going to get for proof of use of work, just get technology, graphics cards overall.
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
My next question is the same with the medical field and patient information. What could be in place to stop miners and node operators snooping that info? But
So go, Dave. You want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So for starters, there's it's not on the own. It's always on the owner of the patient data to make sure that his data is secure when he sends it out somewhere. So with that in mind, it's most of the AI modeling that happens today is actually anonymized data already. So in that regard, we're already having data that's unidentifiable at this point already before we ship it over to do anything modeling at this point. Now, patient information is always the owner is always the one who's responsible for his data, so he has to make sure it's secure. Part of the benchmarking will also be geolocation. So I know, for instance, in Canada, patient data is not allowed to leave the country, so we would have to have something in place for that as well. So
Yeah.
geolocation is going to be something that we'll definitely be using, and keep in mind we're using technology that we've built ourselves already with Flux. We're using that again. Like, why reinvent the wheel if we have it already? So we're definitely going to be using that as well. So I hope that answers a bit of the question.
We'll get deeper into that. That's a good question. Man, Thomas, you're hammering here today.
all right, so the question is CPU is going to be involved in these benchmarks?
I would imagine yes, because I think what we want to do is make sure that, as I said earlier, we want to try to mine till death on equipment. So I think there's definitely a place for en masse when you have a whole bunch of CPUs that are now can process data. I think that's useful work like anything else. So will there be a benchmark specifically on them? I think probably the answer is yes.
All right, so next question is, so will this work with a custom OS like Hive OS, for example, or a Flux OS Windows for mining rigs?
I would say out of the box, yes, because essentially it'll be an algorithm. So Flux can still be an algorithm, but the problem would be switching to the proof of use work side of it. If Hive supports moving to, a different chain, the problem is what Hive does is, and I'm thinking of NiceHash. Well,
You're thinking of NiceHash, yep.
yeah,
So Hive OS is Linux.
Everything
right?
I just said, throw that shit out. So just back up.
So we might end up reaching out to Hive OS and see how we can work together. Maybe that's
yeah,
an
I would
interesting
like to
partnership.
see it on like all the mining
Exactly.
platform. You know what I mean? Like it would just make sense.
Yeah. But then definitely for Windows, it's going to be a lot easier, right? So for Windows mining, it's always a script that people launch with a shortcut, or with what's the software? There was a software we used to use for that too. I forget it now. But yeah, the idea is that you're gonna set up your server itself or your station, and you're gonna say, look, this is the software that I'm using to mine. if I'm not doing the useful work, go to do the mining part, use this software, use these parameters, use these settings for all I care. So that's basically the idea behind it is that you control it from the Flux software. You decide what you're mining, if you're mining, and otherwise be available for useful work.
Yeah, and one thing I note is, those software providers or those software vendors that are building those things out, if whether you're building a flight sheet for mining or whatever it is, it's not unusual to have fallbacks. So if I'm mining this and that goes and something happens there, I'm falling back to mine this. So think of that going forward. The fallback would be proof of useful work that will come back to the main chain once you're done that. And they would be incentivized themselves for embedding that into their platform because it would allow miners to go back and forth, and I'm sure they would take a cut of the hit, or it would be included in your monthly fee, whatever it is.
All right, next question.
All right, next question is I think it's asking the rewards. Is the rewards coming from the block rewards? Or
No, none of the rewards. This doesn't touch main chain, doesn't touch any of the block rewards. This economic model will be built specifically for proof of useful work, and will also include at some point our Cirrus nodes as well. So we'll build this completely separate, and it will be incentivized by the individuals deploying the infrastructure. So the market. So how does that work? Dan has a job that he needs to get taken care of, right? He needs to render something. I go onto the Flux marketplace. I select 5 GPUs. I rent those GPUs. I render and for that I have to pay X. And we're going to have it set up soon so that you can choose fiat or you can choose Flux. Most people may not have some Flux. They still want to use the resources. So we have to have a payment settlement mechanism in fiat that then turns around to settle the Flux. So they pay for their service, they use the service, and off they go. So that goes back to the individuals who are providing those GPUs and those resources. So basically what it does is incentivizes people who are already running the infrastructure, and it's completely its own economic model.
All right,
Next.
the next question is, let's see. So could something like this be baked right into the creative applications such as Blender or Adobe products so that the end user can utilize the Flux proof of useful work network to render without even leaving their work app?
I don't see why not. It goes back to integration. You know what I mean? Like once we've reached critical mass, it just makes sense to integrate something like this for cheap, quick, easy access and deployment. So yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, is it going to happen within the next few years? Probably not, but it would definitely be something we want to talk to them about.
I
All
would
right,
love to see a plugin. Absolutely.
and then this delivery of these huge files will be supported or not. Some of these files, once rendered, can be multiple gigabits, not or even terabyte in size.
So one of the things that Flux has done from the get-go is because people say, well, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? We tend to be agnostic and work with logical-based partners. So I think what you could see is other people, like let's say storage or Filecoin, that provide massive data storage. Project Thunder, our nodes, our storage model. So yeah, these files are going to be huge. They're going to require a lot of storage, and they're going to require a lot of heavy lifting. But I don't think we go alone, right? If you go alone, you'll go fast. If you go together, you'll go far. So I think that's exactly what this looks like. I think we start tapping into other people in the space. Golem's one that's done it. Filecoin storage. All these different platforms that are building out different things. I think you could see them rolled into this as well.
All right, I was just looking at the questions here, so let me get another one here.
Is that Goldie asking all these questions? I think.
Yeah, he's always asking questions.
Okay, cool. There you go. So, do we have a community mind map just to post ideas for possible future projects, or just thoughts to spur other ideas?
I'd say the mind map is Discord. It's kind of a dumping ground for everybody's brain creations. I get so many people that come in every day and say, "Hey, do you think Flux could do this?" You know what I mean? And it freaks me out. It would be cool to have a community mind map, though. I'm not sure how that would be done. Maybe there's somebody out there that wants to build an app that runs on Flux that does that. Hint, hint.
Post-its everywhere.
Yeah, little post-its everywhere that we could kind of go through and delete from time to time, and transfer over to the dev team. Yeah, well, that'd be cool.
Yeah, but for now, if you have any suggestions, concerns, just drop them in the proof of use for work channel. It's stood up for that. By all means, dump them in there.
All right, so this must have already been answered, but let's do it again. So will Flux team be developing new mining software like Minizy to support mining and auto switching to proof of use work or working with existing mining softwares?
I think we work with the existing software providers, and we give them the tools that they can easily integrate to their platforms. Because again, we like people that are doing things already and developing things. We're agnostic to platforms. So, do I envision a time where there's maybe an application, that would be, directly tied back? Yeah, I do. Maybe not a Flux supported software, but maybe a very advantageous community member who wants to, much like, we have, Goldie nodes and host nodes and all these folks that are running that infrastructure, somebody who builds out the software platform and, it open sources it and gives it out and runs it, and and makes money on it. I think that would be great. I love to see that happen.
All right, so next question is, Dan, how the proof of use will work can help in the back-end television industry. For example, my company is in the process of setting up cloud PoUW. It's a combination of massive, strong, and decoding.
So if you're talking about the back end television industry, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So I don't know all technology things. It sounds very interesting. I want to learn more about it. So I would say hit me up with a DM and I can give you a deeper dive into it. But to the second part, it sounds like it's a massive combination of strong and decoding. I'm assuming that you mean, a heavy work reliance on, the back end. And I think that, proof of use work would be perfectly positioned for that. So send me more information about back end television industry.
All right.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. Is it rendering or?
It's hard to say.
All right. So next question is, so I don't understand but what kind of supply shock this PoUW proof of use work will bring to the Flux supply?
To the actual supply itself, it's not going to change our economic model, as we talked about earlier. But I've been saying this from the beginning, back in the Zell days, right? Organic growth. First, it's very slow, then it's all of a sudden. And we've seen this with Flux over the last year and a half. It was kind of slow, and then all of a sudden, here we are. Now we're in, top 200 projects, and it's, whatever. So I think people have to remember you can purchase 0.0000000, I think. Flux. Flux, one or two more of those zeros. I think it does. I mean, we've got a massive portion of our supply locked up in nodes and infrastructure. Hell, Titan just deployed 2 million plus Flux onto Titan nodes. So what does that mean? Well, I'm not a financial advisor, nor should anyone listen to me about financial advice, but I do speak logic. And logic is, if you have a very small finite supply and a great demand for the actual piece, then number go up. So, I don't ever talk about price because I don't give a shit. But personally, I don't care, because Flux isn't even close to the number where I believe it can be. So, but for people that are number watchers and they want to make sure that we're actually utilizing the utility asset appropriately, this is how you do it.
All right. So next question is, with mining, we set up custom settings to maximize efficiency. How might this affect stability, right? When switching to proof of use work, when we don't know exactly what type of load will be applied.
But the scheduler will. So think of it exactly opposite of just how you stated it. So you said you're the user, you're mining, you're setting and fine tuning the settings on your mining rigs specifically for a particular algorithm, a particular coin, whatever. flip it around, and now the scheduler now knows the required criteria and the maximum optimization of that criteria, and your graphics card or your whatever you're running is going to match that criteria, and that's what it's going to use. So is there going to be any tuning on the proof of use work side by the miners? No. When you leave mining Flux or whatever asset you're mining and you move to proof of use work, it's all taken care of by the scheduler, and it's all taken care of by the network to ensure that you're getting the most bang for your buck out of it. Hope that helps. And that, by the way, that's half baked. I mean, we have these ideas, and we just have to keep working on them to get them to the point where, you know. But this is conceptually where we look at things.
Last question, Dan. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so making sure I have this straight. So we can have a rig mining Flux, but if we also opt into proof of useful work, the rig can automatically switch over to a proof of useful work job when one is available, and then switch back. Is that correct?
Rich H, you're on the money.
Yep. That's
Bingo.
it.
You just summarized proof of useful work in one sentence. Very long sentence, but one sentence. So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing you have to look at. So that we won't take any more questions, and we'll kind of wrap it up from here because I'm sure everybody's got to get on with their day. But you know, I honestly, this is my, you know, I always tell the guys on the project, this is our magnum opus, right? This is our holy grail. This is our, you know, our dream project to have this functioning the way that, you know, we envision it. This is just the beginning, and you guys get to go along for the entire ride. I mean, you think about it in, you know, Amazon year 2 when they were building their framework out, they were building it to deliver books, but in reality, what they were building in that framework was the ability to deliver anything. And proof of use work is exactly that for compute resources. We're looking to build the framework and the delivery model to be able to provide those resources to everybody ad hoc or scheduled or whatever it looks like. So, you know, I'm super excited about it. I know these guys are super excited about it. I know you're going to have a ton of questions as we move forward. And I saw a lot of good questions really come in today from educated folks. We have a Discord channel for proof of use work. Drop your questions in there. Davey and Alex live there. They're always in there talking about something. So you guys, the more input we get, the better it's going to make the product in the end. We listen to you guys and we want your input. So take the time. Anyone that's not familiar, you can follow us at runonflux.io. You can also on Twitter at runonflux. You know, we're looking forward to the input that the community gives to us as well. So Davey, Alex, either one of you want to, anything on closing?
No, I'm good. I'm excited. Let's start building.
Let's flux and go. All right, guys. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day. And any questions, drop them in there for us.
Thank you.
See you.
Hey, guys.